Terence the tractor has plenty to do in the autumn. He ploughs the fields, brings in hay for the animals, and carries vegetables to market. Sometimes he'd see Thomas. "Do you know," said Terence one day, "this time of the year always reminds me of when we first met. You remember, don't you?" "I do," said Thomas. "If it hadn't been for your caterpillar tracks, I'd still be stuck in that snowdrift." "Snow doesn't worry me," smiled Terence. "My owner says I'm adaptable. Nothing slows me down." "Until it's winter time," said Thomas. "Then you can have a nice long rest." "Pooh, you're only jealous." When the snow came, Terence's owner brought him back to the shed. "Goodbye, Terence. I'll see you in the spring," he said. Terence yawned and went to sleep, while outside the snow began to fall. Everything was quiet and peaceful. Then one day, Terence's owner came back. "Sorry to spoil your rest, but there's trouble. Mrs Kyndley has snowed in at her cottage. We're to help dig her out." He fitted a snowplough to Terence's front and off they went, pushing the thick snow aside. It was hard work, but at last they reached the cottage. As they arrived, Terence could hear Thomas whistling. "Peep, peep, peep, here we are." "Toot, toot, toot, so are we," Terence called. He worked hard to clear the snow, while the workmen dug a path from the cottage to the railway line. At last, the rescue was complete. Mrs Kyndley thanked Terence for his help. "My pleasure," smiled Terence. "My owner says we'll look after your cottage while you go and enjoy your Christmas party." "That's very kind of you," said Mrs Kyndley. "I do wish you could come too." "Oh, we'll be all right. Have fun now." "Goodbye, Terence. Happy Christmas," whistled Thomas and Toby. And Terence watched until they were out of sight. That night, Terence's owner stayed in the cottage. Terence was left alone, covered by a tarpaulin. It began to snow again. He shivered and thought of his nice warm shed. In the morning, he was almost buried by snow. His owner laughed when he saw him. "You look like a cake covered in icing," he chuckled. He brushed the snow off, removed the tarpaulin, and turned the ignition. Terence groaned and shuddered, but his engine wouldn't start. "I'm too cold," he shivered. "Oh dear," said his owner. "How are we going to get home?" But he had an idea. Quickly, he telephoned the big station. Later, Terence saw Thomas puffing through the snow with Clarabelle and the breakdown crane. What are you doing back here?" asked Terence. "I've brought Mrs Kyndley home," said Thomas. "She had a lovely time at the party. And now your owner has asked me to take you home." Soon Terence was lifted onto a flat truck and they set off back to the farm. "Thank you, Thomas. Now I know how it felt when you were stuck in the snow." "One good turn deserves another," said Thomas. "Now we can all have a nice long rest." Happy Christmas, Terence. Happy Christmas, Thomas.